Welcome back to Between the Levees. I'm joined today by Chief Bill Shackelford. He's been in the industry for 45 years. I don't know who he works for, but I know at 19 years old, he joined with Alter and has spent 4.5 decades out here on the water. Chief Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Nice to be here.
Have you seen any of these episodes before?
No, I have not.
Well, we'll get started where it all began. So in 1979, you joined the industry, but fill me in on the first 18 years of your life. Where were you born? How did you grow up? What was growing up in the 60s? What did your parents do? What drove you to the industry?
Well, money's what drove me to the industry. My parents were chemical engineers. We lived in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. My father worked at the chemical chlorine plant on the Arsenal. Uh, they were in the Army Chemical Corps in World War II. That's where they met. I guess after they got married, my mother didn't work anymore. She was too busy raising us. And, we moved from Pine Bluff over to Helena in '69, and that put us on the Mississippi River. And I don't know. I guess I drank some of the water.
How many siblings did you have?
I had an older brother and two older sisters.
Did anybody else in the industry that followed you?
No, sir. My brother had a machine shop of his own there in Helena for 35 years, I guess.
Well, you said money drove you to the industry. How was school for you?
It was good. I went to a good school, made good grades, and I couldn't see how marine biology was going to make me any money. So I took me a decking job. I went to that little school south of town. That was where you had to go to get on with the bigger companies in those days. Went to the National River Academy for a 2-week deckhand course, and they got me a job with Alter. The way I went.
How did you end up finding that academy?
It was local. It was 10 miles south of town, and they opened in the mid '70s, and it was a pretty good thing. They had pilot piloting courses, engineer courses, tankermans, and then of course the deckhand school. They had firefighting. We took that, and of course the CPR, like all of them do now. And when the when the crunch hit there in the mid '80s, that closed up. Walked out the door and left.
How well did those 2 weeks prepare you for the job?
I fairly well, I guess. And we did the 6 on, 6 off watches just like you were on a boat. They had a galley there, and they got us out there on a concrete slab and had us throwing lines and laying wires.
Well, walk me through your introduction to the industry.
Hmm. I went up to St. Louis on the airplane in the wintertime, January, and called a tug, I believe, at Ori Brothers. And they took me out to the Beverly Ann, and it was ice in the river. We were northbound and went right on up into the locks. And that was my introduction to working the upper river and in the ice. And first bald eagles I ever saw in my life. I thought that was something. Yeah.
Any interesting
Oh,
stories of your experiences coming on deck all the way up to when you decided to go to the engine room?
yeah, pretty good. I worked with a bunch of good guys, and my mate was a man that's probably my age now, tough as a old leather boot. Times were different. We worked 30 days on, 30 days off back then. And they paid us real well. Sure did. And I saved me up a little bit of money, and I thought I wanted to go into business for myself with a grocery boat there at Helena. And I went off up to West Virginia and bought me a boat that had been a passenger ferry boat on the Canal River at DuPont plant up at Charleston. Well, needless to say, it took me a long time to get home. I wound up buying a small barge to go with it. And a year and a half later, I got back down to Helena, found me a place to tie up, tried to eke out a living there for 8 to 10 years. Wound up married with some kids to feed, living on the riverbank. When I left there, I went to the Gulf, went to work Tidewater. I officially went in the engine room with them. I had, let's see, I worked a little bit. I got in the engine room with Wetfer and Jantran back in the early and mid '80s. It was late '80s when I went down to work Tidewater. Got me a license, service the oil rigs.
Well, keep walking me through your career from there to now. In fact, who do you work for now? What boat are you on, and where do we find you this evening?
I'm working for Western Rivers. I've been here since June of '16. I'm on the DANNY Etheridge. We're presently on dry dock here at First Marine, mile 12, Tennessee River. Let's see, I worked for Tidewater for a while, and then I decided to come back up the river. And I took a position with ACBL as chief. I worked for them for 5 years. And then I took a break for a year or so. Where did I go after that? I went to work on the dry dock here at home, Mississippi Limestone dry dock for a year. They sold their last rock boat to Florida Marine, and I went with it. So that got me working for Florida Marine. I was with them for quite a while. They didn't have very many boats when they bought the Drew Davies. Well, I was there when they ordered that 25 at one time. I left there, went back home and piddled around a while, and then went to work for Inland Marine. And I ran several of their boats. I ran the Midland that they had leased from Ingram for a while. And let's see, I left there. I'll go left Inland. Went home and fished for a year. And let's see, then I went to work for Terrell Marine Service. They had bought a boat that First Marine here was refurbishing, and I took the chief position on it, and helped them finish it out, and fired it up and ran it on its maiden voyage after it was named the Amy Gattle down the river a time or two. And then I left Terrell and I went to work for Herman Sand and Gravel on the Missouri River. That was real interesting. I had decked up there briefly way back under the Port City barge line. We ran up that Missouri. I worked on a little boat they had bought from Pat and Tully down at Vicksburg. Had Caterpillar engines in it. Got it ready to go. We pushed a tank vessel that went to ammonia plant they were building up there, just about as far up the Missouri River as you could go. That was Sioux Falls or Sioux City. I can't never keep them straight, but it was way up there, Great big fertilizer plant. That Missouri River is real interesting. It, as you well know, there's not much traffic on it anymore like it used to be. It's still wild, all right. And I left Harmon Sand and took a stint with Marquette for about 10 months, I think, before I came back to work here, or came to work for Western Rivers. I like Western Rivers real well. It's a little more my speed. They do their own work. A lot of neat old boats. The folks that own it come from down the neck of the woods where I come from. And seems to be where I'm on roost. I'm still here.
Well, some previous guests have asked that I get some more chiefs on, so I'm glad I bugged you on Facebook the other night here. I've heard over time recording, I think this is going to be episode 130. So I've heard over the last, year and a half that chiefs are real good at antics, at cutting up, good around the galley table, telling stories. Surely after 45 years, you've got a few good stories about crazy things happening out there with people, with the barges, with anything, with engines, with whatever it is, man. Anything come to mind from some highlights and lowlights maybe of your career?
I'd have to think about it a little bit, but there's a bunch of them, that's for sure. Yeah, yes, sir. Um, been I've been real blessed to be here. I'll tell you that. Uh, must be a reason for it. I can say that.
What's your favorite part of the job?
Oh, I like working on stuff. I like being on the river. Got to keep moving, man. Hard to sit still. It's best when we're rolling, and that's what it's all about. Keep them wheels turning.
What's your least favorite part of the job?
Oh, probably when I spend all my money all up, I got to make some more. Being away from home is hard, but after a while, everybody gets grown, and I'm about I am the oldest one of my bunch now, so the boat has pretty much become a home. Home's where you hang your hat.
Well, how many kids do you have, and have any of them followed you into the industry?
No, sir, I have one daughter and got four grandkids. They're just now the grandkids are just now coming of age to get out in the workforce, and I hope they can find them something decent to do. There's not near the work that there has been in the past, especially where we come from.
Well, how many years until retirement? Unless, of course, you spend up all your money all the time and have to keep on working until you can't anymore.
I don't see any need to retire. I don't think I've got a good bit of land and a good bit of projects all going on. Um, it doesn't take an awful lot to keep everything rolling where I come from.
I think that'll just about do it for my questions, but anything else come to mind you can share?
No, sir, I can't really think of anything. I appreciate you. Appreciate you listening to me ramble on about all this. It's all good.
Well, I do appreciate you, sir. We'll keep in touch with you.
Thank you, Tim. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot. You too.
This has been a production of Where You At Studios, LLC.